So today I have Gary Middleton from Middleton Technologies, middletontech.com. And first of all, hi Gary, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So, um, so Middleton Tech does your three apps are much like what we were doing at Para, only we went above and beyond with the iOS and kind of getting in everybody's face and and making it a little too public. So it's really interesting to me to talk to you because are before we get into the apps, are all three uh, just uh, Android based?
Yes. All,
Yeah.
all,
So
all three are just Android based. I do have some beta iOS stuff,
yeah,
but as you know, doing iOS stuff requires a lot of backdoor activity that is very much frowned upon as far as the gig companies go to.
right. Yeah, that's that was a big thing with us was that like, out of all those users, like probably 70% were iOS.
Mhm.
And I think that with that much usage, I mean, first of all, it's hard to get something on the iOS store, but I also used to say to David that I think it's a lot easier to get into trouble having an iOS product too,
I think it is. I
or
do.
just to
I
raise
do.
flags, not get in
Right,
trouble,
right,
but to,
right. Yeah, I think because the way Apple is structured, you got to worry about Apple rejecting your app. So you might put thousands of hours into an app and then it get rejected and you can't ever use it.
mhm.
And then second, you got to worry about the actual gig companies coming back at you for it as well.
Right, because I
So
think that they get lot more analytics and data back from the iOS stuff. Even those companies start getting readings on you, not just hearing about you on the street, but they're actually getting stuff because it's tied to them.
well,
So
a lot of people don't know, but whenever you submit an app to the App Store, they don't look at every line of code. What they look for is URLs that you're, throwing through that code and see if they actually belong to you.
right.
And if they don't belong to you, then they actually alert the company that they belong to.
Well, that's crazy then because I always knew that DoorDash knew probably from like we launched in March of this year and just started blowing up immediately. So like let's say beginning of April. I think from beginning of April, people from DoorDash had eyes on it, but it's amazing that wouldn't they have gone to, by your theory, to DoorDash and said, "Hey, does Para own you?"
Well, they don't they'll alert them. Like it's weird how it does it because it's not like Apple calls in or anything like that. It's like an automated thing on your dashboard. But it tells them, that hey, you might want to look into this. It doesn't say, hey, we're shutting down this app. It doesn't check to see if they own that app. It just alerts everybody to what they're doing.
Okay. Yeah, I would just think that they would have had I mean, that they would have had somebody shut us down like 2 weeks in, not 19.
A lot of legal stuff that has to happen to do that.
Yeah, I get it. I mean,
Yeah,
to make it happen. But that first,
yeah,
we had two cease and desists. The first one
right,
was when we gave them the week ultimatum.
right,
We said, you guys can put up the transparency. We had to hire a lawyer, obviously. We
right.
hired a lawyer in San Francisco that's been against DoorDash before. So very expensive. But he said to them that, you know, okay, here's what my clients have come up with. Either you guys can show the transparency because we had till 4 p.m. on a Monday. We took it down at 4. You have till that time to take it down. So we took it down at that time. At that time, we had them served with a letter that said, either you put the transparency up or else call us during this week and let's discuss this, or else next Monday at 4, we're putting it back up. We
Right.
didn't hear from them. The following Monday at 4, we put it up. Following Tuesday morning at about 11 a.m. Pacific time, we got a call from our lawyer who said, okay, we have a second cease and desist, and this one is no joke. That's exactly what he said.
And the second one's probably for the actual connection to the database.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever it was, they had actually stepped the game up to some
Right.
level where he was just like, this is where it becomes not worth it, guys.
But you're still doing it.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, we're not doing it how we were.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, we don't have the
Right.
tips dropping down. We don't have, we have an estimator now.
Oh, okay. Okay. I see what you're saying.
You
So
know,
they were more concerned about the actual raw data that you were taking than the prediction models.
right. So what we do now is David, or Jeff took all of these menus and actually by the order total, it can kind of figure out what, or it can figure out what you've ordered in the total, and therefore from the total you're supposed to be able to help predict your tip.
Yeah, 20% or what are they probably go off of what the default DoorDash app gives whenever somebody orders, I would
Right.
think.
But the
Or at least
problem,
if I was
the
coding it.
problem there is though, is that, with, if people remember that the way we had it done, it was the drop down came down to the total when it was in perfect running shape. Here's the total order. Here's your tip. A lot of times a total order could be $30 with a $30 tip, or it could be $100 with a $5 tip. So there was so much unicorn tipping going on any level that it was really the benefit to me. The biggest benefit was that it showed the big tips, not just a restaurant where you might think you're going to get a good tip and it's a big order. Because we get a lot of people who come back and say, dude, I got $5 on that.
Yeah.
You know,
You're never it's always hard when you're trying to guess what somebody's going to tip because two people never tip the same.
right.
One person might take a $10 order and tip $10, and that's 100%.
Right.
One person take $10 and tip $2.
Yeah.
So it's a rough game when you're trying to do that type of stuff.
Yeah. I guess, for all of us people who work in the industry, I don't know if I rarely use the food ordering apps, but if me and my son do, I don't care what I order. There's a $5 to $10 tip going on that regardless.
Yeah, I definitely have my minimum for
Yeah.
delivery. And then depending on where I'm ordering from, I try, now that I've been doing gig work for so long, I try to do a $2 a mile minimum.
Right.
So if I'm 10 miles away, you're gonna get a $20 tip.
Right.
That's just because that's what I shoot for whenever I deliver.
Do you find that works?
No. I mean, because the only platform that actually gets my food to me quicker on is Grubhub, because Grubhub does not hide any sort of pay.
Right.
So whenever I order from Grubhub, a $20 tip, that thing's picked up and delivered pretty quick compared to DoorDash, which is only going to show you a certain percentage, or Uber Eats, which is going to show you the first $8 to $10 of it.
Right. But is Grubhub showing them? I've never done Grubhub. Grubhub is one I've never signed up for, because when I tried, it was a waiting list. And I don't even remember if I put my name on it or not. But does Grubhub show you the distance? Because it didn't used to.
Yeah, they since they were bought out by Just Eats, I think it was last year they were actually bought out, but Just Eats is just now taking over it now, 4 months ago. So they actually rolled out the distance to both iOS and Apple.
So now you're on Grubhub. What aren't you seeing as a driver?
The only thing you don't see as a driver is the tip amount, and the customer drop off. That's the only two things you don't see. Which, me personally, I can care less about the tip. I just need the total and then the distance to match for me.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it's the company paying me or the customer paying me. That's what I care about.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I thought, and I don't know why I thought this. I really thought Grubhub used to show the tip.
That they used to, and then of course cherry pickers, whatever you want to call them, they stopped taking no tip orders. Even though the payout might still be $8 for 2 miles, people still would not take $0 tips. So
Right.
they removed that. They still show 100% of the pay though. So they don't hide any portion of the tip from you.
Right. Yeah, it's odd to me. It's so funny that each one of these platforms has a different transparency thing. I was telling somebody that I honestly think it's a test I'm starting to think it's a test that one person owns all these companies, and he shows a little different transparency on each, and is testing out like where the people are going.
Right.
Like, okay, here we won't show you the tips. Here we won't show you the distance. Here we won't show you the amount. Here we, and it's like,
See, I think it depends on how much of the market you actually control. You know, because DoorDash, when they first started, they showed more than Uber Eats.
right.
Well, you know, they didn't have as much as the market, so they showed more to attract more drivers.
Right. I mean, everybody, all of us know that, maybe not some of the newbies, but like you and I, the veterans, we all know that when they come out of the gate, they come out looking like pieces of gold.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, so you need to, you know, put your sunglasses on, realize that shiny gold is really just, you can go over and break it with your fingers.
Pretty much, it's the honeymoon period is what I call it.
Right. Yeah. But that honeymoon period can go for a while and really get you invested.
Yeah.
And then when they pull the rug out, they usually pull it out in a few stages.
Once they get enough drivers, once they
Right.
get enough incoming orders, things of that nature. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
It happens I think Corner Shop's the big one right now. But you know, they're the Uber Eats Instacart part of it.
Well, and then I
And
saw, and yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? Uber paid $1.1 billion for Drizzly.
for Drizzly, yeah. Which
Jesus.
is that's gonna affect DoorDash too. Because DoorDash's alcohol orders
Right.
in most places come from Drizzly.
DoorDash's alcohol comes from Drizzly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, I don't even know. I don't know if that's regional, because I don't think on DoorDash here in Colorado I can buy alcohol.
Well, it depends on your state
Right.
if your state allows it. Like Florida, we allow alcohol delivery. Even like if you go to a restaurant and get takeout, you can
Yeah.
get it in a to-go cup.
So we're going to allow Uber Eats to do Drizzly. So, and we also during the pandemic, same as you, but this did not exist before the pandemic. During the pandemic, our governor made it so that to-go alcohol was okay. So that you could walk into a bar, that you could even, I used to bartend at a place right across from Coors Field where the Rockies play. I was there for like 20 years. And you can even go in and like, we have signature shots, and they were doing them in like little Cisco 4-ounce cups with lids. So like if you ordered 20 for your friends and then some booze to go, you get like a rack of these 20 Dixie cups with little tops. I mean, like it got so ridiculous. I'm like, okay, so the bar is operating outside the bar. I don't get it.
Pretty much, it's like a to-go bar.
I mean, you could just sit out in the parking lot across the street,
get drunk,
right, and I'll like pull some like picnic tables out and stuff, and just wave at us over at the bar, and then
that's what California did, right? They did all outside venues.
Yeah, as far as I know, I don't even know if California's back.
Well, I remember during the pandemic that I seen like plastic tents.
Yeah.
And you could just go sit in this plastic tent. Each table was a plastic tent. I was like, that must be hot.
Right. I was talking about I don't even know if they're back inside now.
I don't know either.
I mean, as far as I know, San Francisco, I don't think San Francisco is. I don't think you can go into restaurants.
Still?
Yeah, I mean, they're all open, like you said, and they all have like these
the outside venues.
They all have passes, even if before they couldn't operate outside of the location. They all got it's okay to set up some tables and take over the sidewalk.
Okay.
You know, because as a bar owner here, I know that like at our bar, we weren't allowed to have outside tables, but like this year we were. But the other thing about here is that now our governor made that law till 2025, which was weird. So now that the pandemic ends, still another 4 years of drinking and to-go bars. And it's going to be interesting once all this is a little more over to see like how do the bars do? You know,
our bars down here, you know, of course, you know, we're fully open down here, but
you've almost been fully open the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, wear a mask, things of that nature. I mean, we did have some bigger places shut down, things like that, but you know, our bars, I mean, they're still doing well,
right?
You know, and we do have alcohol delivery because I decline a bunch of them.
Why, you don't like the alcohol runs?
I'll do them earlier in the day, but anything nighttime, I don't like dealing with drunk people.
Oh,
And so, and especially back, I know they said that they changed it now, but it used to be a pain to try and scan the IDs for the alcohol deliveries. And so
okay.
you got a drunk person that's ready to get their stuff, and you're trying to scan their ID that won't scan. They get frustrated.
I wonder why you have to do that. Some liquor stores do it and whatnot, but a lot don't.
Uh, I think we have to scan it for delivery just for verification purposes.
Right.
But like I said, I've always had alcohol delivery down here. It's not something new.
Right. And
But
yeah,
but
I come from
yeah,
Michigan, dude. We were doing it in the 80s.
yeah. It's
It
but
was
like I
just
said, ours a lot of ours is through Drizzly though. So that's
Hmm.
why I'm saying once Uber actually takes that over, I wonder how that's going to affect DoorDash.
Well, huge, I would think.
Yeah, I would think so too.
But then again, the McDonald's decision on Uber Eats is going to help out DoorDash.
Oh, them dropping a McDonald's?
Well, I was reading these articles about how McDonald's has signed this deal with McDonald's, or how Uber has signed this deal with McDonald's that's going to basically really make things better for DoorDash. I don't know if it's exclusive or what it is, because nobody wants the McDonald's order, so I don't know what they're doing anyway.
I I think that's a store thing because I got two McDonald's around me and they're super quick. Like they have somebody dedicated to
Oh,
delivery orders.
yeah,
So
we don't have
yeah,
that.
when you walk in, it's 2 minutes tops.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we're a big city too, and we don't have. If yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if you walk in, it's still going to be a while. There's always a line.
Yeah. Now, see, after was it 10 o'clock when they're all in lobby closes? I won't take it. I won't take any fast food then. I mean, I don't like taking fast food to begin with, but
And the other thing too is that now they allow 14-year-olds to work at McDonald's here,
oh yeah, oh they're
and
getting desperate.
which I thought broke child labor laws, but okay.
Well, it's been 14 with parents' permission and a permit in a lot of states for I don't know 20 years.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm old.
Yeah,
What
me too.
I couldn't work till I was 16.
You
But that
might
was
be
me.
older than me then.
Yeah. Yeah. Um so let's jump into the Middleton stuff because I'm interested in what's going on with these apps. So um should we can we take it backwards and start with the FlexAlert?
Yeah, yeah.
So can you give us an overview on the FlexAlert?
Yeah. Okay. So FlexAlert is a P2P system for Amazon Flex deliveries. That's the Whole Foods and the warehouse deliveries. And what it does is, of course, it has an auto refresher in there for you. So if you've ever done Amazon Flex, you know that you're tapping all day long, over and over and over. And that's been the biggest complaint about that app since it's ever came out. So that's one of the first things I added was the auto tapper. I did make sure that it falls in line with the Amazon terms of service though, because it does not auto accept anything.
Okay. So what does the
So
tapping do then?
the tapping refreshes the screen.
Uh-huh.
And then whenever a block is found that matches your parameters, it'll give you an audible alert.
Okay, so you still have that time to accept.
Yeah.
You're just not having to go.
Yeah, you're just not having to sit there and keep
Yeah.
tapping all day long, waiting on it to populate or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But Amazon's terms of service clearly state you cannot have an auto acceptor because they do mass block drops, and it's an unfair advantage to other people.
Okay. But so basically, that's the part that it takes out for you. So you can be running all your other stuff. Is this one of the things where you need a 2-phone system?
It depends on how you want to do it, really. 2-phone system, if you want it to actively refresh, then the Amazon Flex app has to be on the screen.
Okay.
That's where the P2P system comes in. Because if somebody else that has the app and is in your market is refreshing or sees a block, it will also alert you as well.
So there's nothing like with the app round or the background app refresh that can.
No, I don't use any driver credentials to connect to Amazon.
Okay.
And so there's no way to click a button that you can't see.
Okay.
And so, but like I said, that does have some background tasks going, such as somebody else with that same warehouse ID. If they see something, it'll alert your phone as well.
Right. Yeah. So for Amazon people, this is great. So this is on Google Play. It's not an iOS app, but it's free on Google Play.
Yeah, it's free with ads, or you can pay to remove the ads.
So when you pay to remove the ads, does that apply across the board to all three?
No, that's all the apps are independent.
Okay. I didn't know if maybe you had like a bulk deal.
No, I set a lot of these apps up like I don't know, years ago.
Right. No, I just meant now that you have three.
Now I would have to move them all to the same server.
Okay.
To do something like that.
Yeah.
Or at least I would have to do a lot more back-end coding, should I say.
So, well, I'll wait on that question because I'm interested on how many people are on each, but let's do the overview on each first. So the driver utility helper, can we do the overview on that one?
Yeah, so the driver's utility helper is a utility app for the DoorDash platform. As you know, it does a lot of stuff. It has auto accepting. You basically, how that app works is you go in there, you set the filters you want to use for either accepting orders or declining orders.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever an order comes up on the screen, it will check that order against your filters and either accept it or decline it, or allow you to manually choose to do whatever with.
Right. So kind of a lot, and I don't want to compare it to it now, but by the parameters that you're using, kind of a lot like the original Mystro parameter type settings.
Yes and no. My apps have a lot more functionality than Mystro does.
Oh, you have more settings.
Yes, way more. I was actually out before Mystro.
Okay.
And so
before the original, not the Doug Fieg.
No, the original one.
Okay.
Yeah, the original one. I was my very first release, and we'll get into that once we get to Maximo, because Maximo was my very first app.
Okay.
But as far as the filters go, for driver's utility helper, there's so many filters on here. And of course, the free users might not see all the filters because they're free users.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a free platform with ads, and then there's a paid platform, for $9.99 a month, which unlocks additional filters, additional stat tracking, because the D.U.H app will also track how long you're online, how much you've made, your distance, how many deliveries you're doing per hour.
You're talking about on the paid version.
No, some of this is on the free version as well.
You have earnings tracking on the free one?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So just what are a couple things about the paid one?
The paid one, you get, of course, GPS tracking, and then you get a breakdown for your stats for your per mile and things like that. You also get your auto decline. You get voice commands. The newest feature I've added was actually an apartment notification. So if a request comes in, I connect to an API and check to see if that address is an apartment or not, and then it alerts you if it's an apartment.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Or if it's one of those even spread out type places or something, or anything.
Yeah, well, it's it's weird how the APIs work for apartments or
Mhm.
any. They're actually called high rises. They have a symbol of H. So anything with a symbol of H, it'll show up as an apartment.
Okay.
So
So
it could be an
dwelling
office building. Yeah.
dwellings on more than one level.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Um okay. So the driver utility app, man, these need to be on iOS, and I know, but I'm an iOS guy.
See, now I do have a beta version for the driver's utility helper on iOS.
Oh, you do?
But it's like I said, it does require all that background information.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that I don't know how you call that, because it's not technically hacking, but it's, you use it,
it,
use driver's credentials to log in and things of that
right.
nature.
Yeah. Where it
So
gets a little sticky.
right, it's in that gray area, and
Mm-hmm.
the lawyer's gonna have to get involved.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I still don't fully understand why everything flies through the Google app or through Google Play. I mean, I understand the more
See,
tough credentials with Apple, but it's like, you almost have to avoid Apple.
here's the thing: if I rooted my iPhone, I
Mm-hmm.
don't even have to go through Apple,
Okay.
because the functionality, that the reason why everything can work on Android and not Apple, it's not because of Apple rules,
Right.
it's because of their limitations for developers.
Okay.
Like on Android, it's an open source platform. They pretty much, anything that Android's created, we're allowed to use.
Right.
iOS, Apple, they keep their stuff locked down. So all your core functionalities belong to Apple, and they do not allow developers to use those.
Right.
So that's why we do Android versus iOS.
Right. I wonder if and nobody in the world owns one. I mean, I know they do, but I wonder if these would work on those Linux phones. Have you ever seen those like walkie-talkie Linux cell phones?
That's a good question.
I mean, because that's a complete open source.
Yeah. I mean, it's depending on the functionality of it, because I know some people use driver's utility helper actually on a laptop.
Uh-huh.
But they just use the sandbox version of Android on their laptop to do it, and then they got their DoorDash and driver's utility helper on their laptop in their car.
So, on the Mac, how you can run virtual PC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I can't remember what the new thing is with Linux, but they have a new interface that does a virtual on the PC and the Mac. I'm wondering if you could run that on the Mac.
I don't know. I got a Mac. I can try it.
I mean, I'm just wondering, because
Yeah.
a lot of people don't use people aren't even aware of maybe what you and I are talking about right now.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
what's Linux?
the average user is not going to be there. You're like, what?
Right. I mean, a lot of Oracle based stuff and database stuff like
Right.
that was Linux born, and Sun Technologies used to be like 15 miles from my house here in Colorado. So they sold
Right.
out, and that's kind of where all that began. But this is all open source stuff. So I'm wondering if like you said with a laptop, but like especially like a tablet or something where you had a little more movement, I wonder if you could run it
Well, I know
on the iOS, because you'd be running it through you could run it through Firefox or Google Chrome.
Well, they would have to have the accessibility functions.
Right.
If they don't have that, then you can't run it at all.
Right.
Which iOS does have accessibility functions. They're just not available to developers.
Right. I was more like, even you're saying that even if I'm in a browser window within the iOS.
Yeah, it's still, everything would still run off of accessibilities.
Okay. So it would just get shut down.
Yeah, I mean, most likely I would have to try it, because I know on unlocked iOSs, or jailbroken, whatever they call them on iOS now, you can run everything that you run normally like you would on Android. You can have the overlay windows, you can have automation.
Yep.
And if you notice on the iOS phone itself, there is automation on the iOS phone. It's just only Apple software that's allowed to control it.
Right.
And so that's why everybody goes for Android versus iOS.
Right. Yeah. So let's move into Maximo here and to the big guns here.
Oh yeah, Maximo is it was the very first app I created. And actually the very first version was just a basic app switcher.
So when was the first version?
2015, 2016.
Okay.
So a long time ago.
Okay. Yeah, coming up on like 6 years now.
Yeah. And the very first version of the app, all it did was switch between Uber and Lyft. That was it. Because back then
there wasn't even delivery.
Yeah, there wasn't Uber Eats or anything like it was just Uber and Lyft for starters. Right. But it only did Uber and Lyft. And it didn't have filters or anything like that. It just whenever you accepted a ride on one, it switched over, and then you would have to manually take the other one offline, and it would switch back.
Right.
Very basic function. Of course, that was the very first year I was learning the code too. So, and then 2016, end of 2016 is where I started adding filters. And I believe that's when Mystro came out as well. Of course, that came out with the original owners, which did the embezzlement and things of that nature.
Right.
And, they got real popular because they went out and got a whole bunch of loans, did a whole bunch of advertising. And eventually, I
don't even think they ever got to a phase 2 funding.
No, they did their phase 1 funding. And then all that money kind of went.
Right, because by phase 2, you have to start showing proof every month that you're hitting the goals that you've projected.
Right.
So but my guess is that what they had going on, the shadiness of it, was they would have never been able to do that.
Well, and that's eventually why they sold out to Doug, which I'm sure he got a pretty great deal out of it.
Right.
But they got real popular because they got the loans and all that, and then they was blasting everywhere, and they spending 50, 100,000 on YouTubers and things of that nature. And I'm a small type of guy. I'm not gonna go. I don't like investors for starters. So
no, I'm grassroots too, and I've grown Uber, Lyft drivers, my podcast, everything that way. I have not driven. Anything that gets driven is just organically by other people that I know.
Yeah, that's me too. I do everything myself, but but back to Maximo anyways. It's a all-in-one utility app for Uber, Lyft, Grubhub. That's for United States and Canada. And then in Australia and New Zealand, it also supports Didi, Ola, and Zoomy. And then in Mexico, it supports Didi. I'm working on a couple other European companies as well, such as Bolt. But
it's really cool that you're doing that, because some of these companies you just named have established footprints in California. Like they're not like open for business yet, but they have personnel here. They actually have buildings. They're working. Like Didi has a building.
Didi has Didi or Didi?
I don't know. I always say Didi. I don't know. I might be saying it wrong. I don't know how to say the last name either.
Well, they're pretty big actually.
They're really big.
Yeah, and I didn't think that they were that big until I started adding them, and then they got.
It's because they have Asia and all of them. They just the population alone of those countries are.
Well, they're a Chinese company, right?
Yeah, but they've got all of it over there.
Right. Well, no, I was reading not too long ago that China actually told them to stop operating for a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I read an article about it. I haven't followed up on it because I'm not in China at all. They got way too many restrictions for developers, and you have to have they have their own Play Store and everything over there.
Yeah, you could go missing if you did something like that.
Yeah, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, Maximo's probably, and in fact, it's probably got more features than the driver's utility helper, because
We
it
should,
actually.
I don't know if we said this, but I think we should, because I really am thinking, I don't think we did. By the way, the driver utility app is just DoorDash.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
I just wanted to, I don't know if we said that or not. So I just wanted to make sure people knew that. So the Amazon Flex is just Amazon Flex. The driver utility app is just, or helper is just DoorDash. And Maximo is kind of the rest, but
it's Uber, Lyft, and Grubhub for United States and Canada.
Okay.
And then, you know, wherever
Uber Eats too.
Right, Uber Eats as well. Yeah,
Okay.
I always consider Uber
Right.
Eats, Uber packaging, whatever Uber comes out with, and it
So
shows up on
anything
your
on the
screen.
Uber platform,
right,
is gonna the shipping, the corner shop, Drizzly, Drizzly soon.
Not Corner Shop.
Okay.
Because Corner Shop has its own app.
Right.
For drivers. They're not in my area yet, so I don't even know how they operate.
My guess is just like the Postmates thing, that it's just going to be over time. Like if we were to fast forward 2 years, like Drizzly and Corner Shop will not have their own apps. They'll be in the Uber app.
Right, exactly. And once they get into the Uber app, they'll definitely be supported by Maximo. You know, of course, Maximo does other stuff besides that. As an events section in there, it'll tell you the closest events to you within like a 75-mile area.
Okay.
So like you just go.
So like me, who lives in Denver, and we have events every night. How do you populate these?
Through an API.
Right, but you grab them from what, local, regional?
There's 3 different APIs it pulls from for the events.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to actually go look at the coding for all of them, but one of them is Eventbrite, for example.
Okay.
But yeah, it pulls from them, and then it'll check for duplicates, things of that nature, and then you can go to the events tab in Maximo, and it'll show you the events. I don't know if it'll actually show on the camera here or not.
I guess my actual point is that, like, so okay.
Oh, okay. See, like it'll tell you closest event, the miles, and you can navigate to it, and things of that. And Maximo does not have a free version. I will say that it does not have a free version. It is 100% paid.
Okay.
But it does have a 2-week free trial.
And how much is the Maximo?
That one is $4.99 a month.
So that one's less.
Yes.
Is that just because of the amount of DoorDashers out there?
No, it's because it was one of my very first apps I did, and I didn't want to overprice it.
Right.
Back then, what I thought was overpricing back then.
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I do well with my apps and everything like that. That I don't want to break drivers if I don't have to.
No.
And so, the lower cost I can do, the better.
Right.
And every time I connect to an API, it does cost money.
Right.
Maximo only uses one API, and it's free. So the only cost I have is my actual time invested in it, and then my server cost.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can keep that one. And plus there is a way to go in there and support Maximo by watching videos. And I got a lot of people that do that.
Okay.
So they go in there, they watch the ads, and I get a lot of ad revenue off of that as well. So I can justify keeping that lower priced.
And just for all you people listening that are wondering, like, well, isn't Gary beyond rich then for running all this stuff? I'm gonna jump in and say that from what I did with Para was a super big learning experience for me, because we were just putting out so much money and we had not got to a point of taking it in. So I got to see the complete other end of when you're not taking anything in, and it's a nosedive.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I know that you're taking in the money and you're doing well, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of expenses behind all this, guys.
Oh yeah. Server cost, production cost, time invested, you want to pay yourself.
Right.
You know,
And Gary's a one-man show too. So
yeah,
that's
I'm one man. Yeah, I do it all. I do all the app development, all the server coding. Plus I still drive.
right. I know.
You know, so
Well, I'm guessing my guess is a big part of you driving is just to have a good handle on it.
uh, yes and no. I do drive because I like to drive as well. But if you don't do it, then you can't keep up with it.
No,
You know, like
that's
you
what I
know,
meant. Like
yeah.
I'm guessing you're kind of like brainstorming the whole time. Like,
I actually screen record the whole time I'm working.
really?
So that way I can go back later and watch it to see if there's anything that messed up. Because whenever I go out and drive, I use it just like a user would use it. I try not to use it from a developer point of view,
Uh-huh.
because once you do that, then you're not looking for what the actual user might be doing with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so because if as a developer, if I go out, I'm just going to hit one button and wait. But as a user, I'm going to be on my Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, or I'm going to be doing so much more than just looking at my screen waiting for an order or a request.
That's pretty funny because most developers I know can't get out of their headspace. Like, couldn't do what you just said.
It's just
You know,
something
they don't have
to.
that other
Yeah.
side of the personality. They couldn't go jump in a car and go, I'm not a developer anymore. I'm just a user and I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
They would be like,
I mean,
no, no, no.
if you want to catch what the user does, that's what you have to do.
Right. I just their
You know?
headsets of the ones I
Yeah.
know couldn't do it. But
Well,
again, they
I-
wouldn't
I-
do gig work either. But
Right. Well, I started out as a driver, so
right.
you know it's easy for me to get in a car and go pick somebody up and just chat.
Well, I mean, you must have had some computer background before. None. So what
None.
made you jump into doing Maximo in 2015?
Well, I was a safety director before I actually started my company.
Okay.
And you know, I did part-time gig work then with Uber and Lyft, and then you know, trying to multi-app is very unsafe. It just,
right.
you know, you're trying to go down the road, tap your phone, look at request within, I think it's like 7 seconds to determine if you want something. That's very hard to do. And as a safety director, you know, my mind's like,
right.
you know, it's just like I couldn't deal with it. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. And so I've always been into computers, just not software or programming. And then
right.
I was
but
like,
that's a big leap to jump into what you did though.
oh yeah. It's sit down, read
Right.
some more. You know, YouTube was around then, but it wasn't huge.
Right. There wasn't
So,
well, yeah, it was big.
well, I'm saying it wasn't huge as far as like now you can go to YouTube and somebody will walk you through how to build
Everything.
an app in a
Right.
whole hour session.
Right.
You know, back then it was you had to Google specifically what you wanted to do, or YouTube exactly specifically what you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so it took a lot longer back then than it does now for sure.
Right.
You know, but just the unsafe part of it is kind of what got me into it. You know, back then a lot of drivers were having wrecks and things of that nature, and I wanted to provide something safer for drivers to use.
You know, it kind of reminds me of like when my son had a concussion, and they had told him that he can't go. They told me that he can't go back to school. This was a couple of years ago in middle school, and they told him he couldn't go back to school for like a week. They just wanted him laying low, and then when he did, they told him that he could go to all his classes, but they didn't want him doing math. And I'm thinking of that because I'm thinking of the trickery of Uber and Lyft and stuff, and how they used to use that little timer and beep it, flash it, and everything, like where you're driving and you're having to look. I mean, it's doing everything like an alarm. And
Right.
so
Well,
you're like looking at it like, and of course there's going to be wrecks.
right. Well, you remember you've been around probably since then, right? You've
I've been
driving
driving since
Uber.
2014.
Yeah, so you've been driving Uber before me, but the very first versions of Uber, it was that circle on your screen.
Yep.
You remember that little,
Yeah.
and it would black out everything else. You
right.
had just that little circle, and
yeah.
you had to hurry up.
And then they also had the seizure
flash.
flash.
Yeah. And at nighttime, that thing blinded you.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. like you, I'm not right now, but I wear glasses too. So
Yeah.
I'd be driving and I'm like, no, dude. Like,
Yeah, I
you
used to
know,
have
I
to
think
turn
in the
turn my
beginning
brightness
though,
all the way down.
at that point, I was taking everything though. In 2014,
Mhm.
2015, I was making so much money that it was like, just go.
Yeah, I mean, we was getting what back then, I don't know, like two something a mile.
Yeah. I mean,
And like, yeah,
this is when they were first launching in Denver, really.
yeah. I mean, yeah, whenever I first started Uber, it was paying great. You
Yeah.
know, I went from, high pay to, I think, but was Oklahoma City is where I started originally. And now I think Oklahoma City's down to like 56 cents a mile.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Well, for Uber X here, it's 56 cents a mile.
yeah. See, I won't drive for 56
And
cents a mile.
Denver's not, I mean, the rest of Colorado's pretty spread, but Denver's a very big town and it's been growing tremendously.
See,
I mean, half of California's moved here now.
yeah, I don't understand how people. I don't understand or why people would go to do rideshare for that low of amount. I mean,
No, no.
like my
It's
market now, where I'm at now in Florida, I get 98 cents a mile if I do rideshare.
well, like here's an example. So this week, I hate the games, but however, this week, like a quest from Monday to Friday was do 60 rides for Uber, get all the money from the 60 rides and get a bonus of 620. That's over
Yeah,
$10 a ride
yeah.
being added.
If you can get a lot of short rides,
On a Monday through
yeah,
Friday, they're short. I mean, you might get
yeah,
a few, you'll get some airports, but like any city, at least for me, I know what times those airports really come through in the city.
right.
So usually I would just try and like turn off or make that a time, even if it was like rush hour, because why would I want to work in rush hour anyway? But like 4 to 6, you'd think that's a great time to work. That's a time I would actually take off because that's a lot of airport runs
A
and
lot of traffic too.
a lot of
Everybody getting off
traffic.
work.
So
Yeah,
I would just turn it off because I tried to avoid the airport runs. Like I always loved starting my day with one kind of thing because that's great because it puts a bunch of money in my bank. But after that, it would be, just trying to stay on the short ones. But you could do 60 easily, but I mean, you'd have to work it. But again, that comes out to, I mean, they're probably paying you more. You'd be, I wonder if you'd make 620 on the 60 rides. So they're basically paying you more than you're probably going to make, or real close to it.
real close to it. Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
real close. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it might be, you're right. I mean, it might be eight. Let's say it's 800, but it's
right.
still pretty close to doubling your money. And then as much as I hate those quests, it's
See, the thing is though, they're banking on those quests that people don't hit them.
right. And most people don't. Most people go
Yeah.
out and give 15, 20 rides and go, I'm not going to hit this week. And they give up.
Right.
So you need the dedicated ones who that Monday pick up, start it, and do 25 rides. So if you shut down your day with 20, 25 rides already banked against the 60, you got 4 more days to do the rest. Those are the type of people who will get it.
Yeah.
So I think
Not
it's like
me, not me.
it's like it's like a percentage type thing. I think like they kind of start measuring those metrics. Like, okay, only 7% of our drivers hit it when we do this. We can do that. But I think that then by doing those quests, it actually takes against the other drivers because that's money they could reallocate to be better pay.
Yeah, I think if they did away with all the quests, they could pay better too. And all this
Yeah,
money they're spending on
all of the games.
yeah. I mean, yeah, all the games that they do. Yeah,
the
I agree.
levels, I mean, it's not a video game. It's a living. Like just make, like I've said, you said you like to do it for $2 a mile, but I've even said on Uber X, just take away the time. And I'm not saying this is the best pay, but just take away the time and distance and just make it a dollar a mile.
But that's what I get here. When you add in the time factor, I get $1 a mile.
Right. And so I mean,
Yeah.
but just take away with all the crap and just make it $1 a mile.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, because time is a stupid payment. That's just dumb.
But thing is, $1 a mile, you would have a lot more people accept the rides.
Right. And
You
they wouldn't cherry pick, or they wouldn't need to because they're like, I don't care. It's $1 a mile. I don't care. If I'm going here, there, I wouldn't really be needing to look so much if they'd move that back up. And again, I don't care about my time payment. I don't care if you're giving me 10 or 25 cents a minute. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, they should just get rid of time payments.
Right. I mean, like here in
Because
Colorado,
I
it
mean,
used to be great payments on Uber. Now it's like I said, 56 cents and 10 cents a minute. In Philadelphia for Uber X, I had a guy on about a month ago that was 71 cents and 25 cents a minute.
I don't know what my minute is. Let me see if Uber tells me real quick. I know I'm at 98 cents a mile. I know that. Let me see. I haven't
And you're
driven.
just you're on X?
No, I have an
Oh,
XL
okay.
vehicle as well.
There you
But
go. Okay.
yeah. Well, no, I mean my X is 98 cents a mile.
Oh, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I would never go back to uh the 56 cents a mile.
No. But I mean, I'm having a feeling that these companies are going to have to readjust anyway a bit, because I know it's not everywhere, but the flooding of drivers is not the same case anymore. And the cherry picking's just
Not
gotten
for
ridiculous.
not for rideshare, I wouldn't think
No.
anyways.
I mean, some adjustments need to be made with rideshare for sure. But yeah, in my rate card, it says it right there what the minute is.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it. Okay, let's see. Here's my Uber XL. Let me see. Come on.
My guess is the minute rate's the same.
Okay, fair. Okay, I get $1.48 a mile with Uber XL and 14 cents a minute on Uber XL.
Okay. It's probably the
Yeah.
same 14 on Uber X too, is my guess. But
It is 13 cents a minute on Uber X and 98 cents a mile.
right. So okay,
Yeah.
so 1 cent different.
Yeah.
But again, take that away, Uber, like reallocate that to just getting a lump amount, because this confusion stuff in the games is just ridiculous. I mean, the games out here in Colorado, I've been doing it long enough. I can look at it and go, that's doable, but I'm not doing it. Or that's really worth it. That's worth hustling for, or whatever. But a lot of people are just stuck in the hole, and Uber knows how to keep it just out of reach. And, I mean, you don't want to be like hitting Thursday and be like working till like they clip you off and not reach that goal if you've been working it all week, because then all of a sudden the earnings you were counting on just cut in half.
Right.
I mean, you get to like 55 rides, instead of pulling in like 1,400, you're gonna be pulling in like 7.
I would be mad.
Yeah. So yeah, so I've been trying to work some of the other apps too, like Curry's my sponsor, and I do a lot of Curry work, and like it's amazing pay.
See,
But it depends on the city you're in.
I signed up with them. In fact, I sign up with every gig app out there just to see what I can automate.
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to get a Curry request.
Really?
I go online every day, not a single request.
Well, you have to. So you have.
You have to refresh.
You have to leave, and I don't do this with any app except for theirs, and I turn it off when I'm not really willing to do it. But you have to leave location services on all the time.
Right.
And I don't like doing that.
Do you have to? Yeah, I don't either. Like on Android, it's very simple though. We can just force stop the app instead once we're done, and it turns off that location. We don't have to go in there and select it. If you force stop it on Android, it gets rid of the locations. So
right.
072484. I guess I logged.
But then you wouldn't get a request.
Right. If you're not online. I'm saying once you're done working, you can force stop it on Android and then do it. And then once you reopen it, it'll track like normal.
Right. So when I leave it on location services only, though, a text comes through, and even without the app open.
Right. See, I don't get anything. I've never had any requests come through for them at all, even with location services fully on
Really?
at all. Yeah.
I mean, I get like, so I've done the other thing you can look at too are the route drivers, because I did a route as a training thing because I'm working with them on a bunch of levels actually. So I did a route ride along with a driver, and then the next week I did his route for him, and the routes pay really good here in Denver. So it's a 26-foot box truck. It when you get to the wherever you're going to use it, so it's not your car, you get to the loading facility, your truck's already loaded up, you take the manifest, you check it against all the stuff, and you take off and do your day. And they pay you $28.50 an hour, or but they guarantee you 8 hours. So like when I did my day, it was 5.5 hours and I got paid for 8 hours. If you go over
Oh,
8 hours
nice.
on your day, you get 39.50 an hour.
Now, how do they control though people purposely going over?
Well, I mean, you're in a 20-foot, 6-foot box truck with tracking and stuff, and
Right.
it's a logistics company. Like for me, when I was doing it, it was for Ferguson Plumbing, which handles like all the plumbing in Denver. And so when I get there, there's like 30 trucks lined up in bays,
Right.
and then I go get my truck. Those guys at Ferguson have the location of the truck, and they hand you the manifest.
Yeah. See, like my very first safety director job was for a similar company. They did medical delivery, but you would use vans, box trucks, or semis,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to track them. But each stop had a minimal time that the driver could be there.
Okay.
But of course we paid them a flat rate per route. So if we just had to have the last delivery done by a certain time. But I did the tracking on them to make sure that they were being efficient with the routes.
So on the hot shot runs, like here's a couple examples of some hot shot runs I've done. So that come through in text and that I've grabbed. Littleton to Lakewood, those are two Denver suburbs, 7.8 miles, $45.01. Okay. And so I get to location A, and this isn't the route. This is just the hot shot, like what you've signed up for.
Right.
So I get about 4 or 5 of these a day. Some days I'll see none, but usually about 4 or 5. And on Mondays and Fridays, a ton of last minute stuff to the construction sites. So you're just driving, they load it, they unload it. But then, so 45 for that one. Rush delivery, Denver to Denver, 12.2 miles, $49. Denver to Arvada, 7.6, $38. Denver to Longmont, 36 miles, $55. And Denver to Denver, 2.6 miles for $42. That was a $220 pound load. So they
And
give you
that's all in your personal vehicle.
yeah, I have an SUV, I have a RAV4. And so when you put in your vehicle, they actually have all the vehicle specs on what weight load you can carry, what the dimensions are in the back.
Right.
And so you'll only get requests that fit your vehicle. So like
Yeah,
if
like I said, I'm signed up for them. I just haven't ever got a
because like
request.
like roadie, for example, roadie does I have a friend who does roadie a lot. I signed up for it, but I never really did it. But he's had a bunch of issues, like where he gets somewhere and he drives a Prius, and he was like getting to like Walmart, and they'd pull out like a basketball net, that
Right.
absolutely no way is that going in that Prius. And he's like, what? I mean, he was even telling me the other day that this same example with the basketball net, and he got out there and he said, well, this isn't going to fit in there. And they said to him, you're the third driver that's been out here, we can't fit it in the car.
That I know they used to tell me on the roadie app exactly what you was picking up.
Right. Yeah.
Like they would tell you
Like with Curry, it just
dimensions
says
and
weight. It doesn't say dimensions ever or anything, but they've never done me wrong. Like
right.
if I get there, it fits.
Yeah, I'm just saying the roadie part of it, like
Yeah.
I believe that they tell you the dimensions on there, or they
Really?
used
Because I,
to.
I I
Yeah.
feel like he said that sometimes it comes through, but it must not be a forced field because sometimes there's
Yeah,
nothing
could
in
be.
there. which is kind of weird to me. Like, why wouldn't that be a forced field?
Yeah, that's critical to any courier service.
I mean, and look at if on that day, that one example I just said with the basketball net, you just pissed off 3 drivers. You know what I mean? Like I know that they sold out now, and I know that they're part of UPS, but nonetheless, like how are you operating on a system like that? I mean, you can't just.
Well, I would expect UPS to change that.
Oh, of course, yeah, or else they're just not. That won't work.
Right. UPS is all about frontline and stuff and getting there as soon as possible. They don't want 3-4 drivers showing up.
So, like I said, I've never been behind the Roadie app. I don't know if you have, but like when you do, obviously they're not telling the customer side that this driver's picked it up or it's on the way, because in a situation like I just explained, they would have seen 3 drivers have to like be like split from the order and then a new one attached.
Yeah, I don't think that they tell you until it's actually picked up.
Oh, okay. So you don't know any of the junk going on behind the scenes. Okay.
Yeah, which is smart. I think all apps
of course
should do
it is.
Like that.
or do it right and don't send these people.
Right. Like I don't know how many times I've gotten calls, like DoorDash, for example, as soon as I accept it from the customer.
Right.
Like they shouldn't even be able to contact me until after I pick it up. Because what if I'm going to unassign it?
Right. I remember I said something in a comment and I think maybe it was one of Chad's YouTubes or something, that you were in the live chat and I said something about Solo and how they had a bunch of like IT jobs that you should go look at if you're in that field, because they were paying really good up in Seattle. And I think you jumped on there and you're like, yeah, they are. Curry's doing the same thing right now. If you go to curry.com and look at their jobs, they have some really, really high paying jobs up right now.
Yeah, but they're not remote. I looked.
Oh, they're not?
It all says based, was it San Francisco, I think.
Well, we have team members out here in Denver too. Like, so I mean, they've got ones in LA, San Francisco, Seattle. A lot of jobs are remote.
I think any programming job should be able to be remote. I would think, but some of these companies won't allow it,
Right.
I mean, I've reached out to certain companies about working with them. Not that I want to be a full-time employee somewhere.
No, but I mean, it's good experience, and if they're paying that good for a little bit, gives you some insider input too, and you help the company out, because all these companies are in like their stage 2, so they need to show growth, both in amount being brought in, but also in like amount of customers and people working for the company brought in. So it's tricky, but I mean, like it's probably not a lifelong position with these, or it could be, but with all these, you always got to remember they might be sold out.
I think that's everybody's hope at one point, is to be bought out by another company.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess so. I mean, if you're Drizzly and you started in 2012 and Uber's offering you, this whatever $1.1 billion, you take it. You take it and give it to them.
Sometimes, I mean, like I've had people reach out to me for mine before, but
with a $1.1 billion.
No, not like that. I'm just saying.
Because I've said you might have taken that.
Yeah, I might have taken that, but I mean, sometimes the offer is not always that good. I mean,
exactly.
Drizzly could have been offered, millions instead of billions, and they probably turned it down.
Right. Oh, I'm sure that the first offer wasn't 1.1 billion.
No. And everybody's always trying to. That's one thing I did learn about business, is everybody wants stuff cheaper.
Yep.
Yeah.
My guess is that Drizzly card, like you were saying with DoorDash using Drizzly, I'm guessing that was a major factor in this. Like I think that so probably too. Added a good 300,000-400,000 to or millions or whatever to this deal, because how could it not? Because they're saying, this is going to take down your competitor by like 3 notches.
Yes, it would take away all of DoorDash's alcohol delivery. Well, not all, but a lot of their alcohol deliveries. So I would think that that was a major factor as well. And smart play on Uber's part, because they're second as far as food delivery, but they're first as far as rideshare.
Right. But maybe, maybe you'll still see DoorDash using it with an Uber license. Maybe that was part of the deal too. Uber likes to have its hands in everything. It likes to be the monster by the cookie jars. It's like, nope, I got part of all these. I don't. That's how I think of it. They're always looking for even just that little piece.
I've always liked Uber ever since the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Even whenever I first started at Maximo, I only got one communication from them ever. Mm-hmm. And their only question to me about my app was, are you connecting to our servers?
Right.
I said, no. They said, okay, have a great day. That's all they said.
Okay.
That's all they cared about.
Was it email or a call?
It was an email.
Oh.
It is, and you would think that like DoorDash, they send out cease and desist. I got one from DoorDash as well, and for the driver's utility helper app. And I responded to it, and I haven't heard back from them, because I told them the same thing that I told Uber is I'm not doing anything behind the scenes. I'm not doing anything to stop your app from functioning. I'm just providing a safer way for independent contractors to use your platform. And Uber didn't care. Lyft cared.
Yeah.
As you've seen, Lyft cared. DoorDash cared a little bit because they did send the cease and desist. But I think once they realize that what I'm doing, the drivers are going to do anyways. It's not
exactly.
Like it's not like I'm telling them what to do. They tell the app what to do, and the app does it for them. So
in my mind, it's almost better them to let you do what you're doing, because now, I mean, you and I have both seen explosions in tech over the past, like, forever, but over the past 4 or 5 years, really big time. Like if they went through ahead with it and made you shut down an app, that just means 4 more companies are launching one tomorrow.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, but right now those 4 companies might not launch one because you're out there, and it's like, well, why do that? He's doing it. But if they took you out of the mix, it just means 4 more are coming.
Right. I mean, it's a lot of people don't launch rideshare companies because Uber is so massive.
Exactly.
You're going to be very hard to compete with somebody that's massive. And same thing with all the other apps that are out there. No matter what type of app you are, nobody wants to release an app of another app.
Right.
It's just unless there's a huge profit margin, which I'll tell you right now, with rideshare and delivery drivers, there's not. These utility apps, you make more money if you actually went out and sold their data to somebody than you would from charging them. And I don't sell any data. I say that up front. I don't sell any data to any company. None of my apps track the data that people think they do. None of it's sold to anybody. It's strictly what you see in the app is what is recorded.
Right.
But like companies like Gridwise, they're a big company. Everybody's heard of Gridwise. Mm-hmm. If you're a gig worker, mm-hmm. Their backbone behind their app isn't their premium subscription. It's the information that they collect from drivers that they use for other functions, such as city traffic.
Right. Gridwise works with Argyle.
Well,
I think, right?
Well, yeah, you can log in with Argyle, but you're not forced to.
I meant I think that they help. I think that I think I'm saying this right. I think that they share information with Argyle that is somewhat monetized.
I don't know if it's with Argyle. I know that they use Argyle for the actual income of the drivers. Mm-hmm. But I do know that they do take the data from the drivers and use them for cities as well. City planning, things of that nature.
Right.
Which is their bread and butter behind their company.
Right. So really they're helping like public transportation and things of that nature. Like, hey, what's going on in our city? Why is this such a jam? Why is this always log jammed? Why is this? I get it. I mean, I mean, that data is super important, but I'm sure that goes to other people too.
Oh, I'm sure it's everywhere. It's like Facebook, so
Right.
that's where Facebook makes all their money, advertising from data from people.
Yeah, I don't want to compare it to Facebook because I hate Facebook. I really do.
I do
And
too.
I don't quite think Gridwise is a Facebook. I don't think they're that evil.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that
No,
at all.
I know, but I think Facebook is evil.
Yeah, Facebook is a for-profit company. Everybody sees that, oh, it's a free app, but it's not free if they're taking all your information and selling it without giving you any money for it.
Right.
I mean, they're making billions of dollars and you make nothing.
Well, you remember in the beginning, Facebook was for many years wasn't doing anything. It was actually just what it was supposed to be, sharing pictures, communicating.
Social networking for colleges is how it got started.
Right. But I mean, and then even as it grew for a while, still nothing. Then a little advertising. Now, like I went off the Facebook platform until I started Uber Lyft drivers. I was off for a few years. And when I got back on there, it was just like a marketplace. I was like, what's going on? Like I wasn't even seeing my family's pictures come through in my feed. I was just seeing advertisements. Yep. I mean, sometimes, I'd see like 10 advertisements and like a picture of my cousin's kids. And I'm like, dude, when I used to come on years ago, even got sick of it. I was thinking, and this wasn't even here. It was just my friend's stuff. And I got sick of it. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't use Facebook for anything except for support for the apps.
I just try and stay off it because it's part of my reason too, is the non-character limit allows people to just vent beyond control in one paragraph too. Sometimes without punctuation, like there's no sentences. It's like one run-on sentence for like 8,000 words. And you're like,
if I'll tell everybody this right now, even if you send it, like if you message me something and it's more than a paragraph,
right,
I'm probably not going to read it all.
Right.
Because I know, like, I know it's got stuff in there that doesn't matter.
Right. People, if you're going to write more than a paragraph, just email us.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel.
And make paragraphs. Because if you send me an email that's like paragraphed out in my email, I'll read it because it makes sense.
Right.
But dude, on social media, don't just put, don't vent and have a point in the middle. Because I'm not going to, like you, I'm not going to get to that point. Or if I do, I'm going to read right past it because I'm so mad at the venting.
Or I'm going to get distracted by something you said in the first paragraph. And that's what I'm thinking about by the time I get to your fourth paragraph.
Right.
And it's like, I don't understand why people do that either.
Right. I always think of it like texting, dude. Just get your point across and be done.
Yeah. Straight to the point. Small.
Yeah. Hey, this is my issue. What do I do about it? Because also when you start venting, you're just making enemies. I don't know. I used to think it was trolling, but I'm seriously starting to think that it's just the Facebook users just in these groups get ridiculous.
I think everybody gets broken down over time.
Yeah.
Eventually everybody.
And then somebody maybe, and I'm sure, people who get deactivated, I'm sure I've seen this, that they still stay in a group and just are just negative, evil people after that.
Right. See, like I noticed one thing, like a lot of my users, if they get frustrated with the app, the first few lines of their message are usually cussing me out or bad mouthing the app. And then, I'll eventually get them to calm down over it and I'll get to what their problem is. And it's like, you could have fixed this a long time ago if you would have just be calm about what you were saying from the start.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm having this issue. Can you help me?
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah. But the support team is just you, right?
Oh yeah, I do everything.
Right. I mean,
if you talk to anybody about my apps, it's me.
Are you bogged down with support stuff?
It depends on the weeks, really. Some weeks yes, some weeks no. I did roll out.
I would imagine you're just pretty bogged down with it.
Well, I do have two phones.
Right.
I answer email responses are within 24 hours. I pride myself on that. My direct in group, if you go to my Facebook group and post something, I try to get to that within 12 hours. A lot of times I'll approve it. If I don't have time to respond to it, I'll approve it. And then hopefully one of the veteran members can help people out. And then if they can't, then whenever I get time, I'll respond to it. But one thing I learned from like Harry Campbell, check your email once a day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's easier to sit down and dedicate an hour to support emails than it is to try and respond
Keep
throughout
up
the
on
day.
time.
Yeah. Now, sometimes I will see if it's a billing issue, if I see an email come across, because I still get the drop downs. If I see a billing issue to come across, I try to handle that right away.
Right.
Because they're paying for a product. I want them to make sure that they got their product that they're paying for.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't get to it right then I typically adjust their subscriptions and things of that nature. But yeah, everything I do, everything 100% myself though. Support, programming, website, backend coding. I have to learn a lot of languages.
I'm sure, man. That's why I was surprised to hear you didn't have any background in computers. I thought you were going to say, yeah, I was a programmer for 20 years.
No.
Just the fact that you started this all on your own is pretty awesome, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that it's kind of like any other thing. You have to be dedicated to it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to want to, like a lot of people, I get this a lot. Oh, hey, teach me to program. I can't teach you. You have to teach yourself.
Right.
Like there's so many resources out there that if you want to do something, you have to do it yourself.
And like you just said, I mean, like people go to YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, these days there's nothing you can't find on YouTube.
Nothing. And in fact,
I mean, like I fix things around my house by YouTube.
Yeah. I do everything by YouTube. If I can't figure it out, it's YouTube. Right. For sure.
But things I used to hire out, I don't hire out anymore.
Yeah.
Because I know, and if I look on YouTube and it looks super difficult, yeah, I've hired out a few things that might be above my pay grade.
Right.
However, like most things I can handle that I couldn't have without YouTube though.
Right. And see, that's probably that's a good point. Like my beta iOS version for driver's utility helper. I think one of the reasons why I haven't released that or even tried to release it to the iOS store is because, I got the code to get the tokens and all that stuff, but that has to be put on a server somewhere.
Right.
And it's not just a regular server. It's got to be a pretty big server as Para knows, because once you start getting a whole lot of connections, it starts dropping. The beta version runs off my personal PC. So, a couple users here and there, that's nothing compared to tens of thousands of people.
Right.
So, and I would have to hire that out because I'm not a server guy.
Right.
I can do minimal server stuff, but other than that, no.
Right. Yeah. So I guess the last thing I really want to hit on here today is, do you have any kind of analytics on, like, let's say Maximo? I know that like you probably have some for your area and whatnot. And I'm sure you have a lot of info and feedback from people, but do you have like a true like general analytic across the board of some kind of what your income difference looks like using the app? I know it's tough. I know it's tough because we talk market to market on my podcast all the time, and I try and make people aware that it's so different. But is there any kind of stats you can give that to people who don't use these right now that they should know?
Well, it's difficult to say with my apps because it's not. My apps don't make, like, I know you hear this from other competitors and things, make 30% more, make 30% more.
Right.
That's not how these apps work.
Not at all. And Solo was a proof of that to me, what they're doing, because they're like learning from it and they're paying the difference to people if they don't make what they say. So,
right. So a utility app will not make you more money.
Right. You can't choose. The utility app isn't choosing new customers.
Right. It's not sending you more customers. It's not sending you more orders. What it's doing is using your own personal preferences to automate certain features for you, so you're safer.
Right. I'm talking on like a feedback term, like from people you've talked to in different markets.
I mean, people tell me all the time in the group that they make more money.
Right.
I don't track that because, like I said, I don't sell any data, so I don't care.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
But you care because you care that they're making more
well,
money.
well, no, I care that the app is functioning for them.
Right.
You know,
Working properly, giving them the correct
right,
information they need.
right. The app, and I'm probably the only businessman I'll ever tell you this: the app will not make you more money.
Right, but it might save you gas and time,
Right.
and which it is making you a lot more money.
Right. It can make you more money if you set it up for your own personal preferences. So, like, if you're currently taking everything, and this is a big, and I tell this to everybody that uses driver's utility helper, go back and look at your previous stats. Like, if you go into your chart, excuse me, like there's a history chart and it's going to show you your current week versus your previous week.
Okay.
You know, if you go in there and you review that, say the first of every week, you will see which days you're getting the most requests. And then you can actually go to that day and see all the requests that you got for that day. It'll even tell you, this is a premium function, but like if I go to, let me go to one of my previous days here. Monday, for example, this week. My average per order for a request was $5.76 for DoorDash.
Okay.
So out of all my orders that came in, that was the average.
Okay.
So by using that, if I'm going to work Monday, I know that I have to set my filters for anything below, say, $5.75 has to be declined.
Right. Okay.
You know, and by doing that, I'm going to get better offers.
Right. So with time, the driver utility app is a super helpful tool, but with time, even you're going to dial it in more.
Right.
Because you're going to start doing the comparisons. And if you've set it at, like, if you set it at 6 in the scenario you're talking about, you would have missed everything or most things.
You would have missed a lot of the orders for that day.
So so you'd look back and you'd say, oh, and then you'd know I got to drop this down a little bit, and you'd lower it a little.
Right. And see, like Tuesday, if I go to Tuesday, my average order for Tuesday was $7.06.
Right.
You know, the per mile average for that day was $1.02.
Okay.
You know, and like I said, these are all averages. The longer you use the apps, and this is driver's utility helper right now, but the longer you use it, the more familiar you will come with the stat tracking. And if you go back and look at your previous weeks and previous days, you will see a trend. And then you can be like, okay, well, I don't want to work Monday because I only get 12 requests on a Monday compared to the rest of the week that I get 40 requests. You know, and that's what I try to tell people is it's all it's a tool. For one, it's a tool. It's not a magic wand. It's not
right. It's not exactly what I was trying to get at. It's not making up money and giving you money.
Right. It's kind of like it's the closest comparison I can bring it to is it's kind of like doing delivery on a bike versus a car.
Yeah.
You know, if you do
I think of it
bike,
like a virtual assistance or a virtual assistant. You're doing the driving and it's like going, yeah, you want to take this one. No, we're not going to take that one. But let's take this one. I mean, it's doing all the work that you don't have time to do when you're looking at that and going, what? And you can't see everything. It's not transparent. It's making sure it's within your parameters of what you can accept.
Right. You go in there, you tell the app exactly what you want it to do, and it does it.
Right.
So if you're accepting lowball offers, you told the app to do that. If you're waiting for $20 plus offers and you're not getting any, you told the app to do it.
See, I don't know. It seems crazy to me that like a company like Lyft wouldn't put something like that in their app just to try a Hail Mary against Uber.
See, that's one of the things with Maximo. Whenever Lyft started blocking Maximo, that's one thing I reached out to Lyft about. And of course, they don't respond to anything. Lyft does not respond to nothing.
Right.
And I told them, I said, hey, and I waited 3 months period from after they blocked the app, you know, and I waited 3 months, and then I emailed them. I said, hey, I'm pulling up my statistics from 3 months ago compared to now, and it used to be about a 60-40 with Uber and Lyft in certain markets as far as what my users were using.
Okay.
They would use both apps, but then they'd run about 60-40. Well, then they stopped running Lyft altogether and just stuck with Uber.
Right.
So it went to like a 77-33 split or something like that. So Uber went up.
Right.
And I emailed Lyft and I said, hey, I understand, what you guys are trying to do here. I was like, but you're only hurting yourself as far as my users go.
Right.
And of course they don't respond to anything, and which their company, they're fine. If they're fine with losing money, I don't care.
I know, but I'm just, I've seen things like Lyft is crawling up on its first profit, and like,
Right.
And I know Uber's like doing everything they can to just skim across the border of their first profit, but how is Lyft getting there? Because they've got few drivers. They don't have any other services other than rideshare. They've pulled out of other countries that they attempted, like Canada or whatnot. They're just here, and it seems like it's Hail Mary time to me anyway. I mean, if they really are approaching a profit, okay, good for them. I don't know how, but
Well, the thing is the only reason why, if you look at paper wise, Uber is only in debt because of everything it does.
right, or it did at least,
Or it did, yeah. Dara is, getting rid of certain things now to try and make a profit, but Uber is worldwide. It's in every country.
right. And
It
and that's
has,
what I try and tell
yeah,
people who think that the crash of Uber is coming. I'm like, guys, Uber has relationships with every city.
yeah.
Like they do free rides to testing, to COVID shots, to voting, to this, that, the other. They've done this with all these cities are never gonna kick them
Uber,
out.
Uber and DoorDash, I can say this for sure. Uber and DoorDash are probably two companies that will never go away.
Right.
They're going to
I
be
agree with that.
here. They're going to be here for the long haul. Lyft, we've seen them scale back a lot in the last couple of years. So I don't see why a company like DoorDash or Uber might not buy them out in the future.
Right.
Because they're just,
Especially
yeah,
DoorDash.
yeah. If they were, if DoorDash was smart, they would buy Lyft to compete with Uber.
Right.
You know,
But if I was Lyft, I'd add all the features that you have on the Maximo app at this point. I'd be like, screw it, just to let the drivers have all that functionality and want to work the platform again. People don't even want to work Lyft.
no, they really rideshare in general is down.
Right. But people, I mean, I'm not talking about the
Right.
users. I'm talking about the drivers. The drivers don't want to work Lyft anymore.
It's a Lyft is actually, I will say this, Lyft has a great app. They really
Yeah.
do. I think their business part of it ruins it for everybody.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, did you start Lyft the same time you started Uber?
I started Lyft first.
Okay, so you was around during the mustache days.
Yes.
Okay, that was a great time to drive for Lyft, was it not?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it was a very personal,
Man, I was a bartender
system.
at the same time. Yeah. I got to tell you, I made great money as a bartender, and even during Rocky games, what I'd pull didn't match. I would make more on Lyft.
Yeah, I ran Lyft.
I mean, I was banking on Lyft at that point.
Lyft was my primary app as far as a driver until they blocked Maximo.
Okay.
Once they blocked Maximo, I went over to Uber because first off, I can automate it. I don't want to mess with my phone while I'm driving. I hate messing with my phone while I'm driving. And so by using Maximo, it allows me not to do that. So I'm going to, of course, go to the app that does that.
Right.
Yeah. And a lot of my users felt the same way.
I don't know what Lyft did. For about a year and a half, I was only Lyft. Like I did Lyft, and then I signed up for Uber through a friend, so I'd get the bonus. So I did my 100 rides, and I did a few more, and then I did the having both of them on and choosing. But then I just kind of went back to only Lyft, and I said, if it gets real slow, I'll flip over to Uber. But it never got real slow. For like a year and a half, I just kept busy and kept making the money I want. So it was awesome. But I don't know. That's just me. Okay, well, how do people find you? How do other than the app stores and even in the app stores, give us the minute pitch on
Well,
on how people find the apps. And
you can find all the apps by going to middletontech.com.
mhm.
There's an app page there. You can find all the utility apps there. Any future apps I come out with will be listed there as well. Maximo and FlexAlert are both on the Play Store, so you can just go to the Play Store and search either name, and it will show up. The driver's utility helper app, you do have to download directly from the website,
Right.
and that's acceptordecline.com.
Okay. So, and yeah, and so the, what is it? The Maximo, the driver utility app, and the Amazon or the FlexAlert can all be found on Google Play. You can find them at middletech.com, and then you can navigate really easy to the apps, read up on them a little bit. And I think that, obviously people, like he said, there's a 2-week free trial. I think there's even, these free versions. Try them out. I mean, when we were testing the para thing, I don't even like door dashing, to be honest. But when we were testing, I was doing it, and I mean, it was night and day from my experience without it. Again, I'm on an iOS, so I haven't been able to try your apps. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, it's night and day. Like if you use my apps, and the reason this is,
I almost want to go get a cheap tablet.
It's a gimmick, really.
That works on your apps, though.
Right. It's a gimmick, really, with a 2-week free trial, because once you run it for 2 weeks, you ain't going back to not running it.
Right. So Gary's saying that during the 2 weeks, he's going to make you addicted.
Yeah.
You're going to be addicted to making money.
I mean, when was the last time you took a walk 10 miles? Once you got the car, you drove.
Right. So, but yeah, I mean, these are apps to benefit you. Obviously, if you go the 2 weeks and it didn't, but I just can't see that this kind of functionality isn't beneficial to everybody. So if you're not already using these, get on them. I mean, I hear people screaming on social all the time about how they can't make money, this, that, the other. And then when I talk to them, a lot of them aren't using these type apps.
Yeah, it's
like get on these tools.
Yeah, they're all tools. That's what I don't get. They're all tools to help you be better drivers.
Right. So, and that was my role at Para, was driver advocate, because I go back to the original independent contractor status. And to be honest, I've been one for a long time that works for a laser company doing production and other things where I need to be an independent contractor. And you are allowed all the tools at your disposal, even though these companies make it sound like you can't and whatnot. Realistically, you are allowed to use these. I mean, if somebody hires you as an independent contractor, until this changes in this country, hopefully it never does, but until it does, you're allowed to use everything at your disposal once you're hired by the hiring company, and the hiring entity is not allowed to interfere at all with the tools you use.
And actually, if you read your terms of service for all these apps, it specifically says they will not tell you how to do the functions of the job.
Right. Same reason they don't show you tutorials on how to do it when you first sign up or any of this. They can't.
Right.
If they did, they start messing with the employee model. So get on Gary's apps. You know where to find them now. And Gary, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks. We actually went by really quick for being so long.
I know. I just looked at the time too, and I was like, oh, that was that long. But thank you for being on today. And hold on just 1 second.
All right.